My heart was pounding and my head was swimming with thoughts, not to mention spinning. Asher had kissed me. Fuck, I had kissed him back. Akira was purring loudly in my mind, telling me she was more than happy with the situation, while my head was battered. I had pulled away from him breathless, terrified, uncertain. I gently rested my head upon his forehead, my hands still resting within his soft hair. Asher? I whispered breathlessly, feeling incredibly anxious right now. What had we just done? Surely we had overstepped a mark that we could not undo? One that we shouldn't have crossed. Didn't feel wrong, though. Akira said bluntly, and as much as I hate to admit my wolf is right, she is right. It had shocked me the way he looked at me as I had gone to give him a kiss upon his cheek to say thank you. His eyes were filled with so many emotions, but the moment his hand was upon me, pulling me close to him, I was lost in him. And then as his lips found mine, I think I melted. It wasn't what I had expected him to do or to say in response to my anger, I know that much. Asher murmured in response to me, and I cannot help but hold back a smile. I could see his chest was rising and falling almost as fast as mine. Did that mean I made him as nervous as he made me? No, that still probably didn't make this right. What are we doing? I whispered, desperately needing to know what had come over him. What had made him kiss me so unexpectedly? That was not like him, not in the slightest. He didn't even like me. He saw me as an inconvenience, didn't he? I raised my gaze to his and watched as he chewed his lower lip in what I assume was anxiousness. He looked quite vulnerable doing that, almost adorable. He certainly looked deep in thought. Was he regretting his actions now? I couldn't help but wonder. I honestly did not know what to think or what to do. It had felt so good. Wrong, but right. Asher suddenly raised his gaze nervously to meet mine. The way his green eyes were looking at me was giving me butterflies. I don't know, but it felt good, he whispered back, and I could hear the nerves within his voice. I smiled, looking down shyly, my cheeks flushing at his words. I was not going to argue with that. Bailey? Asher said, moving back a little more, but suddenly sounding a little less anxious now. And as I turned to meet his gaze, he was offering me his hand. I slipped my hand into his, and his hand took mine into a tight embrace, softly stroking the top of my hand with his thumb. Such a simple motion, but one that gave me goosebumps. We began to make our way up the stairs to where our rooms were. You know Zion is talking to Akira, right? Asher suddenly asked me out of the blue. Wait, Zion was his wolf? Akira was talking with him? How did I not know that? She had not said a word. What a sly little... Really? I looked at him. He just said so. I hadn't realized. Zion seems to get along quite well with her, he says with a shrug. Wait until I am alone with my wolf. I smiled awkwardly at Asher as we reached the top of the stairway. Though, I have to say, I don't mind the company of her human counterpart either. He adds with a little wink, and I find myself smiling, my cheeks flushing again. You want to watch who you say that in front of Beta, or people may get the wrong idea. I warned him, and he took me by surprise and grinned. Oh well. He winked at me again, and I felt my heart racing as we reached my doorway. My hand was still within Asher's, and he pulled me closer to him, so I was close to his chest as he slipped his hand around my waist once more. I felt my legs go a little weak at his touch as he gently spun me around, so I was suddenly against the wall next to my bedroom door. That was some slick moves he had right there. Akira giggled, sounding almost like a teenage girl swooning at her teenage crush. Goddess help me. The hand in which he was holding mine, he swiftly raised above my head, and his other hand remained around my waist, pulling my body close to his as he lowered his face to mine, only causing the butterflies within my belly to increase and my pounding heart to speed up. Would that be such a bad thing? He whispered into my ear, the warmth of his breath tickling my ear. I know I certainly have no issues if people want to think the wrong thing. He moved his head back a little so his eyes could look at me, and I could feel his heart pounding against my own. Asher, I am just a teacher here, I whispered. His handsome features contorted into a frown before the hand above my head slid down to my face and softly caressed my cheek. You are not just a teacher, Bailey, he uttered. You are so much more, especially to me. I just don't think I had realized it, or maybe I hadn't allowed myself to. His words shocked me. though, as he spoke, a phone vibrated within his pocket, and it caused him to jump a little. Suddenly he chewed his lower lip anxiously once more. I was still in a mess after hearing his words. Was there more feeling from him than he had let on? He moved himself away from me suddenly. The moment between us was gone, as he slipped his hand into his trouser pocket. "Your keys and your phone," he said, nerves so evident within his tone. And as he passed me the phone, the screen lit up. It was filled with missed calls and messages. From him, Miles. My sister had given him my number, and he was back in touch. Something was making him angry, and he felt the need to take it out on me, like he always had. But what bothered me more was if these were here now, most of them were there when Asher picked up my phone. That meant he may have seen them. I looked up at him, but he was avoiding my gaze, only confirming my worst fears. I needed to deal with this now. Call it damage limitation, I guess. I moved toward him, taking his face within my hand to move his gaze to meet mine. "You saw all these?" I asked, but I ensured he knew I was not angry. How could I be? He had been trying to help me. He would never have known they were there. And it wasn't like he could open them and read them. He momentarily closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, almost like he was preparing himself for what was about to come, but soon his eyes were looking at me, and he nodded. "This is your future Alpha, isn't it? Your former fated mate? He bullied you? Treated you so bad?" he asked, his voice so soft, so full of concern. I know I had done all I could to hide this from people, but right now, with how Asher was speaking to me, I felt a need to be honest. He had opened up to me before. Been honest. Did he not deserve the same from me? And as I nodded in acknowledgement to his questions, I felt his arms take me in a tight embrace as he took me into his arms, pulling me to his chest, making me feel safe. All visits had been called off for the day, and we had traveled to the motel across state that we had booked into, leaving earlier than planned since we left immediately after the incident at Silver River Pack. Anyone would think I had gone in and killed half their pack or something the way my dad was reacting. I was done with the attitude of my dad. Was I not entitled to an opinion? This was my life, after all. My future, and, ultimately, my dad had known from the moment he had begun discussing all this arranged chosen mate crap that it was not what I wanted. Yet he took control like he always does, taking his alpha role, dictating to one and all and giving me no choice. No choice in my own life that I did not agree with and was not about to back down. And I had made that clear on many occasions before we left, told him why I did not want this. Yet he had forced me to come, in spite of that, so why he would think this trip would go well, I truly do not know. Now, I had spent hours enduring my father lecturing me nonstop about how I should be respecting him, doing as I am told. Because apparently my actions at Silver River Pack were not only disrespecting their alpha, but a huge disrespect to my own pack and my own father. How he came to that conclusion, I have no clue. I think my dad came up with his own rhetoric to make himself feel better. Yeah, make himself feel more important. Well, it wasn't going to work with me. I was sick of being treated this way. He was basically treating me like I am still a young child and not the adult I was. He evidently thought there would be a point when I would buckle and back down to him and admit my mistakes, then agree to all he wanted. But if that was what my dad was expecting of me, he was wrong. I was as stubborn as he was. I would not, and I did not. I had continued to stand my ground, and the argument had continued to increase. Building. Worsening over time. The room we were sharing was smashed to pieces. Both our wolves unleashed their fury upon one another and the surroundings, which would no doubt mean we were left with quite a bill for the damage. We were both alpha wolves, and neither one would back down. That would show weakness. It would be surrendering to the other, and neither one of us was ready to do that. If my father wanted this to go down to an alpha challenge, I would challenge him for his title, for my rightful place within our pack if that is what he truly wanted. But that is not how we did things in our pack. But I had never done things as expected, and my family were underestimating me. If they were going to put my brother in my place as alpha, I would challenge him. I would kill them all before I allowed it. This was for my pack, for the power and control it brought with it, and I would not have it snatched away from me. All over the mess that the bitch Bailey had left behind. Everything was fine until she let our secret slip. I would forever hold her responsible for this mess. I watched my father stalking me, across the room from me, his eyes dark with anger, though I could see a tiredness within his face. I think he had to be as sick of this as I was. This is not what either of us wanted to be doing right now. "This isn't right, Miles," he roared once more. "You are my son, yet you act more like an enemy than any enemy ever has. Why must you fight me on everything?" "Because you are trying to take away my rightful place. I am the firstborn, and you know that title is mine. Yes, I made a mistake today, but you know as well as I do, Bailey was never right for me." I watched now as my father tilted his head at me. "Did you just admit you made a mistake?" He lowered his tone, which surprised me, though I never meant to admit I was wrong. But if it meant it stopped this shit show of a night, then maybe it was better. There probably was no need to act like that at the pathetic attempt of a pack. I was just so angry they had offered me a reject. Another version of the girl I didn't want. And it reminded me of her. Of Bailey. The one I hated to my core. The one who pushed me into this mess I found myself. Fine. I made a mistake. I know I did not need to act like that. But you pushed me into a corner where I did not want to be Dad. I told him angrily. I do not want to be doing this. I told you the girl I wanted. I saw the expression upon my dad's face change. It softened slightly, and he looked concerned. "There is a girl you want? A girl you would willingly take as a chosen mate?" My father's tone had completely changed now. If anything, he sounded a little shocked. He sounded calm, almost willing to listen. But his words still angered me. How can he act so clueless about all of this? I had mentioned Kaya so many times to them, to my dad and my mum. Told them I wanted to have her considered for my chosen mate. Yet my dad was here, acting like he had never heard of her. Like she was a nobody. "Yes, Kaya, the daughter of the alpha of the pack I went for treatment at," I told him, and my dad screwed his nose in confusion. "Why would you consider her for a mate, son? She was a worker, was she not?" He raised his brows at me, shaking his head. "You are an alpha, or will be if you stick to the rules we have given you." I held back the fury I was so tempted to unleash upon him. How can he be so rude, so dismissive? Evidently he had not listened to me at all when I had spoken of Kaya, and it appeared he paid little attention to the information given when they came to my treatment center, or he would have known she was one of the daughters of the Alpha there. "No, Dad, she was also one of the Alpha's children," I informed him, trying hard to hold back the spite within my tone. "He has quite a few from what I heard," I added, and I saw his face change, like a light bulb had turned on within his mind. An Alpha's daughter." He nodded as if understanding now. "And you like this girl? You would happily want her as a chosen?" he asked, shock more than evident in his voice. Listening to the way in which he spoke, I believe he had thought I would never happily take a chosen mate. They thought I would fight them about this. Without a doubt. She challenged me. Didn't care about my role, wasn't scared of me. It drove me mad, but I liked it, I explained, and my dad smiled as he nodded. "I think she sounds perfect, son. That is what you need for a mate, someone who sees you for you, doesn't see your title, and is willing to challenge you. I will look to contact her father. Her pack shall be our next visit. No wonder you have been so reluctant for this trip," he said enthusiastically. "I just wish you had told me sooner." I rolled my eyes at my dad. He was unbelievable, yet I could not hold back the rush of excitement I felt racing through me. I may get my girl yet. I had been so determined, but had been beginning to lose hope, as nobody had been willing to listen to me. Now it seemed they would. Though I have to say, there was still an anger rippling through me too, that it just went to show just how little my parents actually listened to me. Me, their son. The one they wanted to take over their pack. The one they were apparently so concerned about that they would do anything to help him get better. Yet neither one had listened to me. Listened to what I wanted. Not a clue, either of them. I had spoken of her, and none of them heard me. So much hassle could have been stopped had they just paid attention to me in the beginning. I just hoped my dad could do what was needed now. Fulfill his role and prove himself as the pack alpha. But more importantly, as my father in getting us that meeting, and then it was winning Kaya over. I looked up at Asher. my heart feeling it was going to race right out of my chest, having admitted to him everything that Miles was doing to me. Yet oddly, he didn't seem angry. He looked concerned. "I wish you had told me this when I asked you that first time, Bailey," he said softly. I sighed. When he asked me that first time, I knew he had feared for his pack, but realistically, I didn't think Miles would do anything to his pack, and considering the way Asher had been acting toward me, I was not really willing to open up to him. "I didn't really know you," I admitted, and he sighed, his shoulders sagging, like he was bearing the weight of the world upon them. "But you have been suffering alone, beautiful, and that cannot have been easy," he said, reaching for my hand, softly stroking his thumb over the palm. "Trust me, I have been coping alone with Miles for a long time, Asher. It is nothing I am not used to," I said with a shrug. I see his face tighten into a frown. "Why are your family oblivious to it, Bailey?" he growls, taking me by surprise. Was that him getting a little protective? "He is the upcoming alpha. Everyone thinks the sun shines out of his butt. Why would they believe me over him? I was never considered anything special in the pack, Asher. I was the geeky beta's daughter. I blended into the background, always had my head in a book. One to pick on and laugh at. And because the upcoming alpha liked to pick on me, so did everyone else. Even my own brother and sister. I got used to it," I explained with a shrug. "Bailey, that may be something when you are at high school, but as grown-ups?" he questioned, and I could tell from the look upon his face he was far from impressed. I looked down at my feet, unsure how to explain. I know what he is saying is right, but I had just accepted how things were. I was what my life had become, and I focused on what I had wanted, on my studies. It just kind of continued. Suddenly, Asher's arms were around me, pulling me close to him. "I hate that you had to tolerate all that. I wish I could smack your brother. He should have been protecting you." I found myself smiling. He realizes that now. He is trying to fix his errors. Meeting his mate seems to have made him grow up. Either that or it diluted the effect of Miles. "Well, you are safe here now. You know that, right?" He softly brushed my hair back from my face, looking down at me, a tenderness within his eyes I don't think I had seen before. "I hope so." I smiled, so touched right now by the kindness he was showing me. This was definitely an unexpected side to the dark and moody beta I had first met. "No, there is nothing to hope, Bailey. We will keep you safe. When you feel ready, we will talk about the things he has done. But I promise, I won't let him hurt you, Bailey. Caleb wouldn't either if he knew." "No," I gasped. "Seriously, Asher, you can't be telling him anything." The look of shock upon Asher's face took me by surprise as I pushed him away from me, but I would not risk anyone else knowing all of this. Luna Eden knew little pieces, but not full details. Alpha Caleb was the alpha of the pack, and it could alter his view of my pack if he knew all of this. I could not risk that. Pack image and reputation were such a vital thing to alphas, and I know Alpha Marshall would never forgive me if I betrayed our pack that way. I would be in so much trouble if that were to happen. "Bailey, he would not do anything. Both him and Eden think highly of you and would want to ensure you were safe." He attempts to reassure me, but I don't think he is seeing this the way I am. "No," I snapped. "I do not want him knowing. It brings the name of my pack into disrepute. I cannot have that happening because of me, Asher. The trouble that would cause, all because of me, it would bring my dad into it all too. I just can't." I went to unlock the door to my room, desperate now to get away from him. He cannot do this to me. "Bailey, is that what you think would happen?" The information would go no further. He reached for my hand as I pushed my room door open, but I pulled it away, adamant he would not hold me here any longer. He would not convince me this was the right thing to do. I was rushing now to get inside of my room. I needed to get away from him, away from this conversation. But as I went to close my room door on him, Asher pushed his shoulder into the door, stopping me. I glared at him as he pushed his way into the room. "We have done this before, where we were upset with one another and we stormed off, Bailey, and do you know how shit that made me feel?" He muttered, and I faltered at his words. He felt bad then, too? I thought he was angry at me. He avoided me afterward. I moved away and went and sat on the edge of my bed nervously, feeling oddly uncomfortable with Asher suddenly inside of my room. "We need to talk, get this sorted, then I will leave you to sleep, okay? Let us at least clear the air, or I will have even less chance of sleeping than normal, Bailey. I felt my heart fluttering at his words now. I hate the thought of him not sleeping because of me. He had already said he struggled sleeping, but I didn't want to be a reason that was any worse, so I slowly raised my gaze and nodded, watching as he turned and closed the door behind him. I don't think I will be doing the pack run tomorrow, Asher muttered as he leant against the wall next to my bed. I couldn't help but smile, assuming he felt uncomfortable at the thought of joining me sitting on my bed. Pack run? I questioned, not recalling any mention of it. He nodded. All in the information I gave you. Good to know you read it. He grinned and I smiled bashfully. Okay, he may have got me there. I am not even sure where it went. Thankfully, I assume I am not expected to take part, and tomorrow is my day off. Bailey, I think it would be good to tell Caleb all the stuff with this tool of a former mate of yours. He paused, a full-on scowl coming over his face. Wait, he is a former mate, isn't he? You did accept his rejection, didn't you? His eyes were narrowed, and I am sure there was fear suddenly appearing there. I rolled my eyes at him. Was he for real? Oh no, I was hopeful that he may unexpectedly fall madly in love with me, Asher, as you likely saw from the snippets of the messages you saw or hear. I quickly unlocked my phone, finding my messages, and flung the phone at him. There are more for you to see just how charming he is. He is such a catch, and I think he is just playing hard to get. A man any woman would be lucky to have, I said sarcastically, knowing I was likely being a little too blunt, but it got to me that he would ask such a stupid question. But my words fall upon deaf ears. Now he has my phone, as he stands and looks at the messages. His face contorts again. I think I may have made a mistake. A sudden thought filled me with fear. She had said numerous times he had rejected her, but the thought had never even occurred to me that she had accepted his rejection and rejected him too. If she hadn't, then they would still have been bonded in some way. Was that the draw he still felt towards her? Because something seemed to bring him back to her. Something made him want to continue to keep reaching out to her, or was that purely a lust for causing her pain? Wait, he is a former mate, isn't he? You did accept his rejection, didn't you? I could not help but narrow my eyes nor hide the fear that flooded through me. I didn't care anymore if she could read the feelings I was experiencing. She needed to know. I don't know why, but she did. I noticed her roll her eyes at me in that ever so sarcastic way she so often has, that initially had driven me crazy, but now I had to say I had grown to love. Oh no, I was hopeful that he may unexpectedly fall madly in love with me, Asher, as you likely saw from the snippets of the messages you saw or hear. I find her phone quickly being flung in my direction, after she messed with it, causing me to quickly react in order to catch it. There are more for you to see, just how charming he is. He is such a catch, and I think he is just playing hard to get. A man any woman would be lucky to have. Her words are irrelevant right now, in this moment as my eyes fall upon message from him. These were not from the number earlier. This specifically stated Miles as the name. I moved across the room to her. I had avoided joining her on her bed when we first entered her room, feeling it might be a little presumptuous, a little inappropriate, but I needed to hold her right now, needed to be there for her. Zion, too. He was rippling beneath the surface, desperate to be near her. His behavior regarding her was becoming stranger, but I had stopped trying to analyze it. I knew she wasn't my mate, not a second-chance mate, as there were none of those signs there, but my wolf, without a doubt, felt a draw towards the girl. And in truth, I think I may too. Sweetheart, these are horrendous, I whispered, sitting awkwardly alongside her on her bed. I don't want your sympathy, Asher. I know what they are. She shrugged, like it was nothing. Zion was whimpering now, both of us unsure how to respond to this reaction from her. I could sense a confusion from my wolf, an unease. He didn't know how to respond to this situation, and I wondered if he could feel something from her wolf that I was unable to sense, because they were seemingly communicating. But Zion was quiet, other than the whimpering, not sharing a thing with me, leaving me to deal with all of this, absolutely clueless. Why show me then? I questioned, and her gaze darkened as she glared at me. Okay, that was the wrong thing to ask. I don't know. I saved them from my last phone in case I needed them as proof. I was being sarcastic. You irritated me asking me that. So I guess it was to shock you. She shrugged, but this time I noticed tears within her eyes. I awkwardly went to put my arm around her. This felt so much more intimate considering I was sitting upon her bed. Well, it worked, if that is any help. I muttered, without thinking, and she looked at me in shock, and I realized how stupid I was for saying that out loud. Sorry, I muttered, and she chuckled. What for? She shrugged. For being you. I smiled. There is a lot to be sorry for if I am apologizing for that. Don't be silly, she softly pushed me. And don't worry, I have dealt with all this already, Asher. Why do you think I was so desperate to get away from my pack? Start a new life for myself? That did make sense, I guess, and it did explain the urgency to move here. Like she had briefly mentioned when I had pushed her for information upon her arrival. It makes sense, but he doesn't want to let you go. He rejected you to end the bond, but still sees you as his. I explained how I was seeing the messages. She nodded in agreement. Seems that way. But like I said, I am out of there now. That was the big thing for me, getting away. I made my escape, got my fresh start. I have already dealt with it all, Asher, so none of this needs to go any further. You asked me to trust you, so please do not give me a reason not to. I am fine. I will be fine. So why did the tears she was fighting within her eyes tell me differently? It is tough, isn't it? I say softly as I pull her against me, surprising myself as I inhale the scent of her, Zion now purring as her increasingly familiar scent fills my senses. Bailey leans back slightly to be able to meet my gaze, a slight confusion in the way she watches me. I don't think I understand. I smiled as I laid a tender kiss upon her head. Being brave all the time. It gets tough, doesn't it? I felt her body tense within my arms, like she had suddenly realized what I meant by my words now. I know she has to have been putting on a brave front for so long, much like me, but I am so desperate for her to know that with me, she does not have to do that. Sweetheart, there is no shame in admitting you struggle, you know? I whispered, a strange irony in my words, as this was always something I struggled to admit. You don't have to be brave for everyone. Asher, please, you don't need to do this. She places her hand on my chest, and I can feel my own heart thudding underneath it, so I know she too will feel how fast my heart races for her, how it reacts to her touch, and we have not done anything yet. Bailey, I just want you to know that you don't have to be alone anymore. I rested my head gently upon her own, not if you don't want to be. And if you don't want me to say anything to Caleb, then I won't. I would not break your trust, not when trust is precious. I know it is not something you hand out lightly, so I most certainly would not break it, beautiful. Please know that. But I do need you to know that I do understand your own struggles. You do not need to battle them alone now. We will find a way to fix this. I want to be here for you. But as I looked down to see how she had responded to my words, I found Bailey was asleep contently within my arms. I smiled. Seemed about right. I made a huge declaration like that, and she missed it. Though perhaps it was too much, too soon. I don't even know where it all has come from. So sudden, the changes within me, from pain, darkness, to laughter and light. I looked down again at the she-wolf within my arms and chuckled to myself, who would have known the new girl to the pack would be the one to bring about these changes. I moved slightly to lay her down on the bed, trying to adjust myself to be able to slide myself out from under her. But as I did, Bailey's arm moved across me, and she snuggled in a little, so I was almost pinned to the bed as I heard a deep sigh. I allowed myself to lay fully onto the bed, with Bailey snuggled within my embrace, completely unawares. Seems I will be settled here for the night. Her embrace was comforting. Zion felt content. I am sure a little while would not hurt. If I moved, I could well disturb her, and I don't want to do that, I tell myself. I would likely wake before her anyway, to sneak back to my room before she even knew. I stretched lazily, relishing the warmth of the bed. That had to be the best night's sleep I have had in a long time. When suddenly I was aware of a movement next to me, and before I was able to open my eyes, I felt a hard thud to my chest like a fist impacting it, putting me on edge instantly and causing me to jump suddenly. But my senses are filled with the scent of Bailey messing with my mind. Asher! Bailey snapped before I had even opened my eyes. Oh, shit. The realization hit me as memories of last night flooded my mind. "Oh, who has been a naughty boy?" Zion sniggered. "Not helpful," I warned him. I pried my eyes open, trying to adjust my eyes to the brightness of the sunshine glaring into the room, which meant it was more than likely already well past the time I was due to be starting the pack run. Caleb was going to be annoyed with me. Feigning sickness may be my only option. As my eyes adjusted, I saw a very angry-looking Bailey glaring back at me. "Why are you in my bed?" "Keeping you warm," I suggested with a playful grin, but going off the dark stare I received in return, my attempt at being playful had failed. I was definitely out of practice. "Seriously, Asher?" "Bailey, please, this is going to sound so bad, but we were talking, you fell asleep, and as I went to lay you in bed, you kind of pulled me down with you, and I was too tired to fight back," I explained, knowing how ridiculous I sounded. Zion was laughing so hard within my mind. "Too tired to fight back? You are a beta, you sap! Why not say you fancied seeing if she made a good bed buddy? See if she was the big spoon or the little spoon?" "Piss off, Zion," I snarled. My wolf was seriously pissing me off now. "Best sleep ever, though, right?" he said, and I hate to admit he was right. That probably was one of the best sleeps we had had in a long time. I had expected us to be disturbed by nightmares like we so frequently were during the night. I planned to return to my room when that happened, but instead, nothing came. It seems I slept like a bloody baby, and instead I found myself in this awkward predicament, one which is seemingly landing me in a lot of trouble. "I did not pull you into bed." Bailey rolled her eyes, completely dismissing my suggestion she had hooked her arms around me. I am pretty sure that was exactly what had happened. I felt my ego take a slight hit, and how offended she seemed by the thought. "Is that such a bad idea?" I teased her, resting my head upon my elbow so I was facing her, and her cheeks flushed. She looked quite adorable. A shiver of pleasure ran through me. I think I quite enjoy teasing Bailey. Her reactions make me smile. I allowed my eyes to drift slowly down her body, wishing she was in a little less now than her pajamas. "Asher," her voice held a warning tone. I allowed my hand to slide to her waist, pulling her close to me, which, when laid down on the bed, felt somewhat strange. But hell, it felt good. I had been doubting everything between us. I had believed I should be alone, but now I had her next to me like this, had felt her lips upon mine. I think I know what I want. Why is Zion telling Akira you didn't want to leave? My eyes raised to meet hers. That was not quite the truth. I think my wolf was stirring shit here. So much for having my back, the little fucker. I think he likely means he didn't want to. He enjoys her company. I grasped for explanations as I allowed my fingers to trace over the hem of her tank top, and I felt her shiver under my touch. I held back a smile, wondering how she would react to my fingers upon her skin, if that was how she reacted to me touching her over her clothes. "You could easily have got out of my bed. You know that, right?" She was scowling again. Wow, she was not about to go easy on me today. I guess. And it isn't like I didn't intend to, because I did. I explained, but her narrowed eyes told me she didn't believe a word I was telling her. "Seriously, stop looking at me like that, Miss Grumpy Pants. I plan to sneak out of the bed once you were settled. I didn't want to wake you, so I waited a while. But I fell asleep and only just woke up. I am sorry, okay?" I looked at her pleadingly. It isn't like we are naked. I added with a cheeky smile. I saw her cheeks flush once more, and I chuckled as my heart pounded at her response. "What's wrong, Bailey?" I softly stroked her face. "You getting all hot and flustered at the thought of us naked together?" Mentioning it was making me think about it now. I felt a hot sensation rush across my own body as the thought crossed my own mind. "Never mind her getting hot and flustered, I think we are." Zion chuckled. "Thing is, I think he is right. Stop it." She pushed me away slightly, and I felt bad now for making her feel uncomfortable. "Sorry." I looked at her with a smile, apologetically. This was all so new to me. I had girlfriends before Isla, but back then I was a teenage boy. Then there was Ela, and that had been for such a short time. There has been nobody since. I had isolated myself, put my guards up, thinking it was betraying my mate. I felt a tightness in my heart at the thought of Isla. "Stop." Zion said gently, "You hurt yourself thinking those things." Bailey sighed deeply, dragging my attention back to her. It just seems weird is all. She shrugged. And I still think you could easily have got away from me last night. Maybe a part of me didn't want to. I shrugged, and her face broke into a beautiful smile. Her smile was incredibly beautiful, lighting up her delicate features. So Zion was right, she questioned, and I shrugged again. I don't even know if I am coming or going, beautiful. She giggled a little before speaking. I would like to think you'd know if you are coming, Bailey said with a wink, and I laughed. Oh, is that so? I found myself asking with a shake of my head, shocked at her forwardness. Not so sweet and innocent, really, are you? I softly placed a kiss upon her forehead, unable to hold back my smile because of her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Okay, we will forget I said that, she whispered, covering her face with her hands. I gently removed her hands from her face, so they were now pinned either side of her face, and I found myself leaning over her, looking down on her. Oh no, I don't think we will. I think I quite like the naughty side of you, I said to her. As I lowered my lips to meet hers, I adjusted my hair, looking at my reflection in the mirror. I liked the new pink tone to my hair. A new me. I think it looked good. I needed a fresh start. Jacob had decided I was not the one for him and had discarded me for some other she-wolf in the pack, so I was done. Hurting, but I needed to focus. I was stronger than a feeble, pathetic she-wolf who crumbled at the cheating scum of a boyfriend, telling you that he was ending things to be with the bit on the side he had been seeing behind your back for months. There was a heavy knock at my door. Kaya, darling, your dad is still waiting downstairs. Don't be keeping him waiting too long. My mum called, and I rolled my eyes at her. Geez, they don't give me 5 minutes to myself. My dad had literally called half an hour ago to request to see me. He seemed to believe I could magically create myself a portal to appear there in front of him the moment he demanded me there, fully dressed and ready to see him. I had no clue what this was about, but if he was requesting a talk, it had to be important, or otherwise he would just call into the treatment center and catch me on one of my breaks. That was his usual tactic when he wanted me for something. It was rare he was ever particularly bothered by me. The joys of having so many children, I suppose. It is difficult to keep up with them all, especially when you were an alpha and had so many responsibilities. Yes, Mum, I am coming now. I rushed to the door, adjusting my yoga pants and matching crop top before I did. I planned to head to the gym once I had seen him. Today was my late start at work, and I planned to take out some of my frustration from the situation with Jacob out on the punch bags. Imagining it was his face would be a good start. Oh, is that what you are wearing? My mum questioned the moment she saw me, and I looked at her in shock. Forever judgmental, my mother, always having an opinion on everything and everyone. But I wasn't aware she had suddenly been made the fashion police. I planned to go to the gym when I finished talking to him, I told her with a roll of my eyes. I do think you should dress a little smarter, Kaya, she said knowingly, which had me suspicious already, but I gave her a dark glare and walked away from her. I was not getting changed to meet my own dad. I rushed through the front door of our large family home, along the garden path, relishing the warmth of the sunshine on my body as I took the short walk from our alpha home to the large pack house. The moment I walked through the door, I was almost pounced upon by our pack beta Enzo. Good morning, sunshine, he greeted me with a smile. A little causal for a meeting, aren't you? He questioned, only raising my suspicions even further now, as my dad had simply asked me to call in to see him. No actual mention of a meeting, so I was beginning to wonder what was going on. A meeting? Dad said to come see him. No meeting. I shoved past the irritatingly cheerful beta and my dad's best friend. He nodded, chewing his lips and looking awkward as if he realized his mistake. Well, your dad asked me to come and find you. You know he doesn't like being kept waiting, Kaya. He shook his head at me, like I had made him wait forever or something. I was literally about 5 minutes over the time he had given me. Oh, for goodness sake. I stormed ahead toward my dad's office. I did not need escorting there by some jumped-up beta who thought he was able to tell me what to do. Kaya, sunshine, don't go storming in there, all guns blazing. Not today. As much as we love your fieriness, maybe today, rein it in. Beta Enzo mind-dinked as he rushed to catch up with me, and I gave him a dirty look. What was so special about today? I turned down the short corridor where my dad's alpha office sat and quickly made my way to the door, not even waiting to knock before I opened the door. My dad looked up from his seat at the desk, a look of shock upon his face. But it was me that was filled with shock as two more faces looked back at me too. Miles, one of my former patients and who I believe was his father, if I remember correctly. Had he failed in his treatment and needed to return? Was I being disciplined because this fool was unable to follow the treatment plan he was provided? That would not be my fault. Do you not know how to knock? My dad mind-linked with a glare. And what the hell are you wearing? I shrugged. I wasn't to know it was a formal meeting when you didn't tell me. Sorry about this, Alpha Marshal Miles. My dad nodded toward the men within his office. My daughter seems to have forgotten her manners and apparently how to dress appropriately for a meeting. I could feel the eyes of Miles and his father upon me, and Miles's eyes lingered longer than was needed. Well, when you are unaware it is a meeting, it makes it difficult to know you should be dressing formally, so yes, I apologize for that, I said sarcastically, a smirk toward my dad and the men sitting in front of his desk. No problem, dear. Alpha Marshal smiled. Looks like you were off to the gym. I nodded. Good guess. I assumed I was only coming to chat with my father. Had I known you would be here, I would have dressed appropriately, I explained. Well, irrelevant of all that. My dad interrupted with a dark glare in my direction. The reason we wanted you to come to the office, Kaya, is that Miles is a future alpha of Lotus Shadow Pack, and he has been rejected by his fated mate. I shrugged, unsure what the hell this had to do with me. It was not quite the truth. As the truth was discussed in his treatment, from what I recall, he rejected his fated mate because of past issues. Anger. She made him feel inferior, her being too intelligent, or something along these lines. But my dad gave me another sharp stare, and I realized he wanted me to pay attention. But still, I am unsure what this would have to do with me. This was their pack business. Well, the thing is, dear, while Miles was here, he took quite a liking to you. Alpha Marshal began, and his words shocked me to the core. Yes, he had flirted a little with me, or attempted to. But most young guys do when around me. It was no big deal. But what the hell did took a liking to me actually mean? Me and him were most definitely not compatible. I looked at the Alpha curiously now, as he continued. So when we were discussing potential chosen mates, he felt you would make a perfect choice. The reason we are here is we would like you to consider our offer of becoming his chosen mate, our pack Luna for the future. I take in their words. They want me to be with Miles, a man I do not know, a man I have met a handful of times, and even that was purely on a professional level. I looked at them all in confusion, my mind a swirling mess. They knew I had been a part of this man's treatment when he was in our pack, therefore they know that I am aware of all the issues he has, right? They have to know that offering him to me as a chosen mate is risky. He was far from a catch. Yes, he was handsome, ruggedly handsome, hot. I know he was flirty because he had tried many times while in treatment, but he had a dark side, a very dark side, and that was threatening. Why would they want to put any she-wolf at risk like that and ask her to be with him? There was no real guarantee his treatment would be successful. While he had been in treatment, I had questioned if he would even complete it at times. But at the same time, a Luna? Me? The thought seemed so far-fetched it was crazy. Yes, I was an alpha's daughter, but still, that never guaranteed anything. The things I could do if I were to accept his offer. My whole life could change. People would know my name. They would be expected to respect me. Look up to me. A sudden thought came to me. Jacob would be forced to look up to me, forced to show me respect, as would that pathetic piece of meat by his side. Jacob was merely a warrior, handsome and strong. But he was just a warrior. No seniority within a pack or the werewolf community in reality. I had more rank over him in truth. Not that it mattered now. He had discarded me, considered me not good enough. But if I were to become a Luna, he would have no choice but to realize his mistake, seeing that I was better than he ever was willing to admit. My mind was filled with so many thoughts, doubts, confusion, the occasional positive as to why this could work. And I could only imagine my face was mirroring my confusion. As I saw Miles look down at his feet, his shoulders sagging as if in defeat, I assumed he was thinking I was not sure about this, and no, in truth, I was not. How do they expect me to accept an offer of this when I do not know the guy? I knew he had a fucking crazy temper, and they knew I knew that. They knew he was dangerous, and they knew that I was aware of the same. Dear, I can assure you, if you would consider, you would have all you need in our pack. I realize this is a big thing to ask of you, but as a daughter of an alpha with many children, it means you could continue a life that you are accustomed to, you would be taken care of. Idolized, of that I have no doubt. Alpha Marshall told me with a smile. The pack would love you too, Kaya. You could have a truly wonderful life in our pack, I can promise you. I glanced at him and could see he looked confident in his words. But I felt so unsure. This was so much to take in, so unexpected and on the spot. And I have to say, I wish my dad had given me some warning instead of just allowing me to turn up to them here in his office demanding an answer. I think this could be worth considering. Kaya, we have already discussed this, Alpha Marshall and I. They would be donating a considerable figure to the treatment center as part of the marriage deal. Not to mention, you will be a Luna. You would be in a position of importance, strength, and you will have a man there that takes care of you and worships you. My dad told me, and as he did, I looked to Miles, who had nervously raised his gaze to look at me, and I saw him smile softly at me, as if in hope I might agree to their crazy plan. A huge donation to the treatment center? See, my dad knows how important that place is to me. Having lost my friend through depression in high school, I had been determined to work there, help others like her. And my dad had no issue with me doing this, being one of the younger children and having no real position in the pack. So he knew the fact they were offering a donation to the center would be a massive deciding factor for me. A hit to my heart. It would make it hard to say no. Though, some of his other words had stood out too, a position of importance and strength. Strangely, Jacob had said to me that, despite being an alpha's daughter, I would amount to nothing. That I would always be a nothing, of no importance to anybody, including my own family. He had hurt me with those words, considering how hard I had worked to gain my qualifications for my role at the treatment center. Studying day and night. My education meant so much to me, and I had always tried hard in school and college, often being ridiculed for it, but it never stopped me. If anything, it pushed me harder. But often in the werewolf community, educational achievements are often overlooked. If I agreed to everything they offered me, it would give me a chance to prove to him I could be everything he said I couldn't. Not to mention, I could have everything he had previously promised me. Those promises of the two of us being chosen mates. Promised and then failed to offer me. In truth, there were so many reasons this seemed like a bad idea, but overwhelmingly stronger reasons to make me want to agree. I looked to Miles once more, who was still anxiously watching me. "Is this what you want?" I asked him quietly. He looked up at me with a smile. There was a warmth in his smile that gave me a little confidence. Maybe he wasn't as bad as he had appeared in treatment when he first arrived. "More than you know," he said quietly. I took a deep breath, not quite believing I was about to agree to this. "Then I think it sounds like something we should agree to. But I want this to happen quickly," I explained, a look of shock upon my dad's face. Did he think I would argue? Completely refuse? "And I want a marriage, not just to become a mate," I demanded, and saw shock now reflecting on the faces of Miles and his father too. But I didn't care. I was determined I would show Jacob his mistake. Show him I did not need him. He was not the only one who could move on. The difference was, I was moving on to bigger and better things. I was going to have my own pack. I would be a fucking Luna. I am shocked by Asher's sudden shift in personality. I am ready to send a search party out for the dark, mean, and moody beta I had so often encountered, as he playfully teased me, taking my hands away from my face as I tried to hide my embarrassment at my own words. I had spoken without thinking, but I had noticed that seemed to be happening more and more lately when I was around him. Though this time I had truly embarrassed myself, and was desperate for him not to be looking at me. Hearing him laughing was bad enough. He had my hands almost pinned either side of my head, and my whole body felt alive to his touch right now as he looked down at me. "Oh no, I don't think we will. "I think I quite like the naughty side of you," he murmured, taking me by surprise as his lips moved toward mine. He was so gentle as his lips caressed mine, careful too, that his body was not pressing onto mine, but this suddenly felt an awful lot more intimate than it had when we were kissing outside. We were in my bed. Maybe this was moving too fast, but it felt good. I ran my hand through his hair, pulling him a little closer to me, allowing him to deepen the kiss. His tongue finding mine once more. I felt the urgency within our kissing shift as Asher teased at my lips and tongue with his own, sending a shiver of pleasure throughout my body. I don't think I had realized I had wanted him like this. I lowered my hand to slip it under his shirt. He gasped at the touch of my hand upon his hard abs as my fingertips gently traced the warm skin underneath. Asher's body tensed under my touch as he moaned before pulling away from me, sitting himself up suddenly. He looked awkward. "I think we should stop," he whispered, awkwardly chewing his lower lip, seeming to avoid my gaze. What had happened? His touch had felt so good. I am not sure that I had wanted him to stop. I know that is wrong. This was all so fast, but it felt right. It felt good. "Okay." I nodded, sitting myself up, pulling down my tank top that had begun to ride up. Asher was sitting on the edge of my bed, meaning I was trapped, and I watched him as he dropped his head into his hands while his elbows rested upon his knees, his hands running through his thick, dark hair. He hadn't said a word for quite some time, and the awkward silence was making me feel so uncomfortable. "Is his wolf okay?" I reached out to Akira for help. Knowing they were now communicating kind of helped. "Yep, all him." "Okay, so that didn't help. Does he know what is wrong with him?" I probed, hoping she may be able to give me a little more than she actually had. But she was quiet. I knelt up on the bed, leaning over to try to place my hand on Asher's shoulder, getting my foot caught in the blanket as I did, sending myself stumbling forward, and in doing so, I nearly fell off the edge of the bed. Wow. Nothing like making a show of myself. Thankfully, Asher quickly reacted, putting his arms out and stopping me. "Whoa, what are you doing?" he chuckled. "Gymnastics isn't really for the bed, you know. Depends if you are incorporating into other things." Akira giggled. I flushed at her suggestion, but did not acknowledge her. I did not need that thought in my mind. I looked up at Asher and smiled. "I know, I was coming to see if you were okay, and I got caught up in the blanket is all." He softly placed me back on the bed, though he pulled me close to him in doing so. "Why would I not be okay?" "You rushed away. I thought I might have done something wrong, and you looked a little stressed," I explained. Asher looked at me with a nervous smile. "Ah, beautiful. Trust me, you did nothing wrong. You were doing all the right things, that was the problem." He looked at me with his brow raised, as if to try to indicate something, and I flushed when I realized what he might be meaning. I stopped then because if I didn't, I was not sure whether I would be able to stop. "I don't want you to regret this, Bailey." The butterflies in my belly were going at full force now, as was my heart. He was the sweetest. And as for looking stressed, I was worried I pushed you too far. I am a whole bag of mixed-up feelings right now, if I am honest, Bailey, but this has hit me like a fucking freight train. I looked at him in shock. "I'm that bad?" He laughed. "Okay, maybe not the best thing to compare it to. Look, I never claimed to be the next Shakespeare, okay? What I meant was that all this came so out of the blue. The feelings. Wanting you, it wasn't what I expected, but then I am wanting you more than I thought possible." He sighed, his head dropping. I placed my hand upon his chest. "Look, I understand and trust me, I feel the same. This is not what I expected either. But how about this? We don't need to think about it, don't need to explain it or understand it, just see what happens. That way you aren't putting added pressure on yourself. We can just enjoy ourselves." I watched as his face broke into a smile. "I think that sounds good." He softly kissed the top of my head. "But just so you know, I don't think I would ever regret it." I whispered as I moved my mouth next to his ear, and his eyes widened a little at my words. "And I definitely don't think I wanted you to stop," I added with a smile as I feel his heart rate picking up under my hand upon his chest. I rushed out of the house, already running late for my hair appointment. I dashed down the steps of the porch when I heard a car door slut at the house next door, and instinctively, my eyes flicked to their driveway, only to see the familiar black Jeep of Miles. My heart dropped. He had avoided me since that night by the lake, never giving me an explanation as to why he had done what he did, other than a one-lined message. "Sorry, but you were never meant for me. I am going on tour to find a chosen mate. Time for us to move on." My heart had felt like it had broken at the sight of the message. I had clung to the hope he would come around to the idea of being with me, wondering if what he had said in his message was just words to hurt me. It was a tactic Miles often used. He seemed to gain pleasure in seeing others suffer, and he had a vicious tongue at times. I knew he was far from a decent guy, yet I missed him terribly. The times I read and reread his message was crazy. It didn't make sense to me. He was an alpha. He would never have to take a chosen mate. He would be the one making the rules. But then when I had then heard of the plans being made by the alpha, my dad and my brother too, of a tour for Miles to go around the packs of the country to meet potential mates, I realized what he had said had been the truth. He had decided or been told he should find a chosen mate before coming alpha, and he would be returning home with a prospective new mate. I had been well and truly been discarded. I was never going to be with him, and I felt my world crumbling around me. I had felt so alive when he had begun to show me attention. Yes, he was older than me, but from being a teenager, I had thought he was truly amazing. A real heartthrob. Like so many young she-wolves. Well, probably not just the young she-wolves, if rumors were anything to go by. Miles liked the ladies, and the ladies liked him. So, when he began to pay me compliments and seek me out at events, I felt privileged. I naively believed he must want me, must be interested in me. However, now with how he has treated me, I cannot help but wonder if he had ulterior motives. My head had been all over the place since he had been treating me like this, and even more since the event at the lake. However, I had since heard that Miles had returned from this so-called tour early, having ordered his dad that it was not what he wanted. I was shocked. Everyone knew that Miles did not like being told what to do, but for him to stand up to his dad in such a way was crazy. But it was typical Miles. He was getting tired of being kept waiting for his alpha title, and he was beginning to show it in his actions. But hearing he had refused to take a chosen mate, well, let me just say, it gave me hope that he may consider me again. I could be a chosen mate if he would only look close enough. I know I could make a perfect mate for him. But I had not seen him since he had returned, scared of how he might react to me, considering how he had treated me, all until now. His eyes zoned in on me as I almost stumbled on the last step of the porch, quickly steadying myself. I saw him smirk. I felt his eyes flickering across my body. Dressed in short denim cutoffs and a little white crop top, a lot of my body was on display, exactly the way he liked. Begging for it. "Aren't you Morgan dressing like that?" He sneered, leaning against his car, and I turned to look at him with disgust. What is that meant to mean? Was he really commenting on my clothes? The sun was shining and the weather so warm, so I was dressed accordingly. Who was he to say otherwise? Exactly what it sounded like, he chuckled. Dressing like a hooker? You may as well be wandering around the pack offering your services to the men. His words hit me like a spear to my heart, but I did all I could to act like they had not bothered me. I will dress how I like, and I am perfectly covered up. Nothing on display except my legs, belly, and arms. All the vital places are covered, jackass. I snarled. His gaze darkened at my sharpness of tone, which I rarely took with him, but I would not have him insult me like that. This was how so many of the girls in the pack would dress. It was in fashion right now. Not to mention the weather was so warm. Oh, does the truth hurt, does it, whore? You know you are desperate for it. You were ready to give it up for me. I bet any damn wolf in here could have you on a fucking plate if he told you the right thing. He moved closer, venom in his voice making me shudder. You know what that is called, Morgan? Easy. So fucking easy. Easy, huh? I laughed. So easy that you never had me. I began to walk away, not willing to stand and continue being insulted by him any longer. He was the worst, but he dashed after me and soon joined me by my side, taking a tight grip upon my arm. Don't even flatter yourself, darling. If I wanted you, I would have had you. Just like that. And he clicked his fingers to show me. Difference was, I never really wanted you. I felt my heart clench in pain. How can he say that? The things he used to say to me, he can't have lied about it all. He had said so much. I wouldn't be too sure. I rolled my eyes at him. You suddenly seem to be awfully confident, little Morgan. He tugged at my hair. You off to meet a new man? Is that why you are all dressed up, like some cheap hooker? I am not dressed like a fucking hooker. These are just the clothes I like. Clothes that are fashionable right now. Clothes that lots of she-wolves are wearing. You should know, considering half the women you have slept with wear this sort of thing. I snapped. Well, my new mate will not be dressing like that when she arrives next week. She will be respectable. Outside, of course, in the bedroom, my wife will be like a hooker, doing all I ask of her, he tells me with a smirk, as my heart dropped at the mention of a new mate. They had said the tour had been called off. So how had he found a new mate? My heart clenched in pain. He would be married? And the look of pleasure upon Miles's face told me he was enjoying seeing me suffer at learning this. The weather had been glorious today, meaning I had enjoyed my early morning training session outside rather than at the gym. And if the sunshine continued, I would be going for a run after work, allowing Akira to have the run she craved. The sunshine had put everybody in a cheerful mood, and the children, like so many of us, were desperate to spend their time in the sunshine, so I taught my class in our outdoor area of the classroom toward the end of the day. The children all happily took part in the activities I had provided for them while they sang the songs we had been practicing for their upcoming concert for their parents. A movement caught my eyes as I glanced up, only to catch sight of Asher. I had not been expecting him here today, but I was sure he was watching me. Akira chuckled. Oh, I think he has it bad. Don't even go there, I warned her. I knew she was only teasing me, but I was not willing to sit and analyze everything. This would not happen. We had seen each other on and off over the last week, sitting in the lounge of an evening enjoying one another's company, watching films, having our dinner together in there too. Yes, there had been plenty of moments where kissing had happened, but we never took things any further. That isn't to say I didn't want to. Hell, I was literally desperate for him at some moments, but I didn't want to rush him. I knew he found this adjustment difficult with the loss of his mate, and I know he thought he shouldn't rush me. So we enjoyed one another's company, and I have to say I did enjoy my time with him. He seemed so much more light-hearted and I dare to say happier. Maybe it is me being big-headed to suggest I could make him happier, but he seems different in himself. Right now he was leaning against the wall outside of the school grounds, but in such a position he could see my area of the outdoor classroom. Oh, look, kids, there is Beta Asher. Shall we give him a wave? I said to my class with a grin, knowing he would hate me for it as I pointed in his direction. All the children from my class waved eagerly at their pack Beta, who shook his head slightly before waving back. Miss Bailey, me not think he likes that, Danny said from the spot he was kneeling. He looks mighty grumpy. Like my daddy does when he wakes up. I had to smile at his words. Yeah, he did look mighty grumpy, but to be fair, I think he often did. You'd think these kids would be used to that by now. Ah, well, a little bit of sunshine can brighten somebody's day, right? I grinned at the little boy, and he nodded me. Sunshine is better than rain and clouds, he adds. I think Beta is rain and clouds. He needs some sunshine. Then you get rainbow too. The young boy sounded so enthusiastic in his explanation, I had to smile, nodding at him, showing him I totally agreed, before leading my Spackins back inside to gather their things together before their parents arrived to collect them. Soon, all the children were gone, and Asher was striding into my classroom. Good afternoon, Miss Bailey. He winked, wrapping his arms around me, pushing me up against the wall next to my classroom door. His lips instantly found mine, with an urgency like he had not seen me for days. Asher, what if one of the other teachers comes in? I urged, pushing him away. He lets me go with a deep sigh, nodding. Sorry, he shrugged. I missed you. Oh, was that why you came to spy on me? I teased, though secretly. I was shocked at him for admitting he had missed me. We had not said we were together, not properly. He had seen me last night. Was it normal for him to be missing me? He smirked. Talking of that, getting your whole class to wave at me? I laughed. What can I say? A little sunshine brightens someone's day. "You surely brighten my day," he says softly, offering me his hand, and I took it as he ran his fingers over my palm. "Can I walk you home, beautiful?" he asked, and again I felt myself softening, as it appeared he had basically come to walk me home. "Well, isn't that just the sweetest dang thing?" Akira teased. Ignoring my wolf and her gentle teasing, I answered Asher with a smile. "I think that would be good." I looked up at him and could see a tenderness in his big green eyes that melted my heart. "Oh, and Zion wonders if Akira fancies a run again later?" he suggested, and I couldn't help but laugh. We had gone for a walk together a few nights previous, and Asher's wolf had been so desperate to go for a run with Akira that Asher was struggling to hold him back. Though in truth, Akira was just as excited about the prospect. They loved their time together. The two of them truly seemed to find some comfort in one another. A comfort or a friendship, I wasn't sure what the correct term would be, but they seemed to crave one another's company more and more of late. It wasn't like I didn't plan to go for a run. I generally found time each afternoon or evening to run, to allow Akira time to shift if I could, so some company would definitely be nice. "Oh, does he now?" I teased. "And does he plan to behave?" "That I can't promise, but he will try." He chuckled, just as the door opened and Allie walked in, her eyebrows almost disappearing into her hairline as she saw Asher sitting so close to me. He instantly dropped my hand. It was things like that which made me think he wasn't ready for anything more than friendship. "Well, hello, Beta Asher. I didn't realize you were coming today. Is everything okay?" she asked. Her eyes narrowed slightly as she watched Asher almost suspiciously. Asher nodded, avoiding the intense gaze of his former mother-in-law. "All good, Allie. Just came by to see if Miss West was free to come and discuss some things with Luna Eden." I felt my body tense at his words. Miss West? Am I now Miss West again? And in the conversation we had just had, there had been no mention of the Luna. Had he just lied to cover up the fact he had come to see me? Ashamed of the fact he had wanted to see me? Pain and hurt racked through me. I had allowed him to get close to me, yet it seemed I was nothing more than a cheap and dirty secret. I knew I was never good enough for Miles. But when I considered this, I could not help but contemplate if Asher wondered if I was truly good enough for him. Because right now his actions definitely did not seem to indicate that